Our first inductee is Coach Jim Blaisdell. He spent 33 years, as Becky said, as the head coach for the Weber State women's track and field and cross-country teams. I started in 2004 at Weber State, and my first assignment, really the main assignment I had when I started, was track and field. And so I had the privilege of working with Coach Blaisdell. He was so helpful and in everything that I did, and really taught me a lot. And I worked with him for several years, and I had the chance to work close with him, and he'd give me updates every week on things, and it helped a lot. It also helped that I could read his handwriting as opposed to Coach Hislop. It was a hard one to read, that's for sure. So I appreciate Coach Blaisdell. He won 18 Big Sky titles, and he coached over 1,000 student athletes at Weber State. And he'll be presented tonight by Coach Hislop and Coach Dan Walker. So first we'll hear a video, and then we'll hear from him. Our first inductee to the Hall of Fame 2016 is Jim Blaisdell.
Jim Blaisdell spent 33 years as the head coach of the Weber State women's track and field program. He spent the last 8 years of his career as the director of track and field for the Wildcats and was also the women's cross-country coach for 26 years. He came to Weber State as head coach of the Wildcats in 1981 and retired in 2014 after having coached more than 1,000 student athletes at Weber State. In those 33 years as a head coach, Blaisdell led the Wildcats to 18 Big Sky championships in indoor track, outdoor track, and cross country. He has also guided the Wildcats to 31 second-place finishes in conference meets. He led WSU to 9 Big Sky indoor championships, capturing titles in 1984, 1991, 1992, 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, 2007, and 2012, and finished second 9 times. WSU still holds the conference record by winning 4 straight conference titles from 2002 to 2005. The Wildcats won 5 outdoor titles under his watch, with wins in 1992, 1993, 1998, 2000, and 2002. When the Wildcats set a Big Sky record with 242 points en route to winning the conference title by 111 points, also a conference record. In cross country, Weber State won 4 titles under Blaisdell: 1993, 1997, 2000, and 2006, and have finished second 12 times. He led the Wildcats to a top 10 finish in the NCAA Cross Country Mountain Region Championships in 25 of 26 meets and finished in the top 5 14 times. From 1990 to 2007, a span of 50 conference championships in cross country, indoor and outdoor track, Weber State finished first or second 42 times. Blaisdell was named Big Sky Conference Coach of the Year 18 times during his career at WSU and was honored as the District 7 Coach of the Year 4 times. He coached 28 All-Americans at Weber State and numerous all-conference athletes.
I first saw Jim Blaisdell in 1968 when he was a long jumper for BYU. I was at the national championship meet, and he and another jumper from BYU ended up being first and third in the long jump. And I thought they were both Europeans because I knew the other one was. When I saw the name of Jim Blaisdell, Jim didn't quite seem like a European name. And come to find out about it, he was from Malad, Idaho. The next contact I had with Jim was in 72 when he became the head track and field coach at Southern Idaho. We had an experience when he was coming down to a meet. It's an early meet that we had in early March. And there was about a half-inch snow when I got up in the morning, and I thought, oh, we'll be able to clear that from the track and we'll be okay.
I knew as the new coach at College of Southern Idaho that he was a graduate of BYU, so I immediately didn't like him. And then when he and his team arrived at our track meet that we were hosting, I think I was a sophomore or junior on the team. And we were ready to have this track meet, and they saw that there had been about 6 inches of snow on the ground at this point. They came out, walked around, kind of kicked the snow around and got mad and got back in their vehicle and left. And so now I doubly didn't like him.
But, and he coached at Southern Idaho for 6 years, and decided to go into business and come down to Ogden. And when he came down to Ogden, he hired my son and daughter to work at his store. My son mentioned that I needed some help. So he came up and asked if he could volunteer and help. So the first 2 years Jim was working at Weber State, he was a volunteer and he helped. And then in 1980, he got the head women's job.
Then in 1984, I had decided I wanted to make a change in my career, so I came up to talk with Coach Hislop and ask him if I could volunteer and help, and they decided that would be okay. And so my second experience with Jim Blaisdell was that he welcomed me with open arms to come and help coach, even though I knew pretty much nothing at all about track and field, and he knew pretty much nothing at all about me. And yet he was very gracious in welcoming me to the staff.
We learned how compassionate he was in many aspects, and it started at his home.
In the early years that I was coaching, Jim and I shared an office space, and so we each had our own desk in the office. Soon I found out that Jim and Kathy's first child, Jennifer, had some severe handicaps. And Jim's day started each day with getting Jennifer out of bed, getting her into the tub, giving her a bath, getting her to the kitchen table and spoon feeding her oatmeal. As time went on, Jennifer was growing into a woman-sized body but did not have the ability to do these things for herself. So Jim's day every day started out this way. It was not unlikely that he would get poked in the eye or get a headbutt, and that was the start of his day. And so when he came into the office, he was just getting warmed up to complete the rest of the day. His compassion for people who are less fortunate continues on to this day. A couple weeks ago, he was one of the chaperones that brought over 70 special needs adults to a Weber State men's basketball game. So it was very fortunate for me to get to be around Jim Blaisdell and to help to develop some compassion in my heart.
As good as coach as Jim Blaisdell is and has been throughout his whole career, I think he's a better individual. You cannot say enough good things about it.
I learned from Jim as I started coaching with the women that girls don't always get along with each other. And yet he had the ability, and I think he had the patience of Job and the wisdom of Solomon to meet with girls and help them to get through their squabbles, and always had a very tight-knit group. But I'm sure that came from his ability to problem solve.
Now I think we got to hit the other side just a little bit, don't you, Dan?
Well, I think that would only be appropriate.
And the best way to do that would be start talking about his driving.
Riding shotgun next to Coach Blaisdell in the van certainly helped my prayer life. Dear Lord, it is not time for me to die just yet. And I said that many, many times over the 30 years that I got to work with Coach Blaisdell.
Needless to say, we had a lot of fun times with Jim, and we certainly think a lot of him, and he is very, very deserving of the honor that he's receiving tonight.
And I am very honored to congratulate and to introduce Jim Blaisdell, Weber State University Athletics Hall of Fame.
Not as young as I used to be. What a privilege and honor it is to be here tonight, to be just a little part of the great athletic tradition which is here at Weber State. And I'm grateful to be with these 5 individuals these 5 athletes that are going to be inducted that have been inducted into the Hall of Fame. I appreciate being able to be with them tonight and to share this neat experience. And it's also a wonderful time to be able to remember all those that are members of the Hall of Fame through the years. What a neat experience that is. May I just take a moment and express my appreciation in knowing Jeff Smitty, the longtime golf coach here at Weber State. I think Jeff was here about 24 years, so we knew each other for a long time. But I just want you to know one thing. I think it was one of the first championships that we won that Jeff was the golf coach, and he was on the telephone congratulating. And every championship or everything that went well after that, Jeff Smith was always texting or always on the phone. And he will really be missed. I want to give a special thanks to Coach Hislop and Coach Walker. A lot of what they said was true. But we spent probably 30 years together. I probably spent more time with Coach Hislop and Coach Walker than I did my wife, during those periods of time. But I appreciate their kind words this evening. In the last 33 years, I have seen 5 university presidents, 6 athletic directors, and a campus that has just about completely, been changed. When I started at Weber State, there was just around 10,000 students, and now there are, I think, around 27,000 students. I remember when I was hired, I was in the hospital at McKay Hospital, suffering with a kidney stone. And if any of you have had a kidney stone, you know what I'm talking about. I was in the hospital for 10 days, and there were times I didn't care if I lived or died. And in the midst of all that, Gary Crompton, who was the athletic director at that time, was at the side of my bed offering me the job as women's track coach here at Weber State. And I don't know what I said, and I was probably, please get out of here so I can get some more pain medicine, but anyway, that was how I was hired. I was in a hospital bed at McKay Hospital, and Gary Crompton came over, and I thank him very much, and Coach Hislop, I know, had a lot to do with that, and what a marvelous time it has been. I remember our first championship. It was in 1985, and we were just building the program, and that championship took place in Bozeman, Montana. And I only took 10 or 12 girls, and that was the size of our team at that time. And what a thrill that was. I remember cell phones coming out, and Coach Hislop probably remembers the same thing. They were about this big, and they didn't work very good because they're just, where the towers were, there weren't a lot of them. But I remember that experience. I remember computers. I remember in 1995 going into my office, and there was a computer. And my first thought was, how do I turn this on? Coach Hislop's been retired for a few years now. But when he retired, his computer was still on the floor where they put it when they first came in. I think that's true, isn't it? What a marvelous way to spend a major portion of my life. I'm a farm boy. I was raised on a farm up outside of Malad, Idaho. And for 19 years, well, not 19 years of my life, but is when I was old enough to do any work, I was out on the farm from sun up to sundown. And I knew there had to be a better way to live this life. And I found it. People ask me, oh, what a marvelous experience you have to travel around with all these young ladies. And I tell them, well, come and go with me sometime. Back when we first got started, the university leased about 12 vans, 15 passenger vans, and of course we don't use those anymore. But so we'd go to a track meet in California or somewhere, and we'd load up the girls in the van, and back then there were no earphones. There were no iPods, any of those kinds of things, and so for that period of time, the music and the talking and the laughing and the noise would, it would go on. I've been after Weber State to give me a disability for hearing, but that hasn't happened yet. I would like to thank the many, many young ladies that have come through the program, and there are many here tonight, several here tonight, and I appreciate so much. I've learned so much from them. They come in as freshmen, kind of silly freshmen, and then by the time they're seniors, they're ready to go out and take on the world. And what a neat experience that has been to get to know these young ladies and to enjoy their emotions and to enjoy all the other fun things that go with coaching them. I'd like to give a special thanks to my family. I have just about all of them here tonight. And I appreciate them, and I especially appreciate my wife. Kathy, stand up. You need to stand up. For all those years of coaching, from about the 1st of September until the 1st of June, there are very few weekends that we were home. And we have 6 children, and it was mentioned about our handicapped daughter, and so when I was gone, the load went to Kathy. And I appreciate her and love her so much for all that. And it's not only track and field coaches. The wife of any coach has to be a very special woman to be able to, go through all the things that coaches do. When I retired a year and a half ago, I kind of made a promise that I was going to spend most of the time with my family. I had missed so many birthdays and so many this and that over the years and I didn't want that to happen anymore. I wanted to be able to be a part of all the soccer matches and basketball and all the various things that went on, and I've tried to do that, and they have not seen me up at Weber State very much, and that is because I'm trying to make up and spend more time with my family and do the kinds of things that I need to do there. I just want to thank Weber State. What a marvelous, marvelous experience it has been for me in my life. Special moments, special experience. And again, I thank Weber State for this opportunity. Thank you.
Congratulations. Congratulations, Coach Blaisdell. Well deserved. How about the student athletes that ran under Coach Blaisdell? Will you stand up real quick? There's got to be several of them here. Congratulations. Just a few of the many. The many, absolutely.